Are we live? Can you see and hear me? I'm hoping you can. We've had a few technical issues this morning, so I'm hoping that it's okay. Let's make sure. Should be now. Let's see. Yay! Hey, Derek. Yay! Thank you, my saviour. And hopefully, Flick, you should be able to see me. So we've got a few people on. Yay, Debbie. Fantastic. Phew. Gosh, don't know what happened then. I was on time, I promise. I was on time. But I don't know what happened. It just didn't come up with my face. And I thought, oh, that's a bit peculiar. Something's going on here that shouldn't be. But anyway, it's all sorted now, so we're all good. I've got some great information to share with you today. So what's happening is a really brilliant question came through the ask@teamleadertoolkit.com. And I want to share with you what that question was and what my responses were with regards to tips and hints. So it's something that you might be going through in the workplace as well. So some really interesting stuff. So I'm really excited about that. Before I switch across, I just wanted to remind everybody that live webinar component of this program will be closing down on the 15th of December and not reopening until the 15th of January. So it's over that festive season. It's got that 4 weeks off. The unlocking portal will still be available for you. All the downloadable tools will still be available for you. All the replays will be there, all those sorts of things. So it's just the live coaching shuts down from the 15th of December to the 15th of January. So next week will be our last one for 2018. It's a bit sad, but 2017, I should say. Last one for 2017. And then we start up again for the first Thursday after the 15th of January for 2018. So really, really excited about it. Okay, so without further ado, has anyone got any questions before we start? Any thoughts, insights, stories that you want to share before we start? And I'll give you a couple of seconds to type something in case there is something that you want to share with me. Okay. So we have a few people online, which is great. Yes, I'm back to my old webinar cam. I'm still trying to work out the new one, and I'm just upgrading my software on Webinar Jam itself. So hopefully next year it'll all be more polished and professional. I'm hoping for you guys. All right. So no one's got any questions. Fantastic. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen with you because I've got some really great stuff to share. It was a great question that came through and one that I've contemplated myself on several occasions. So it was great to see it come through. So I'm going to let's close that down because you don't need to see all that. Okay. Fantastic. So live coaching. So this is the second last one for 2017. Oh, my Lord. My Lord. But it's all good because we'll be back again 2018 raring to go. All right. So the question came through. What's your opinion regarding the link between leadership and attire? So what you wear as being a leader. So the person that wrote this, in their workplace, there's sort of an unwritten law or an unwritten standard that it's, you know, long sleeve collared shirt, suit pants, you know, proper leather shoes, all those sorts of things for people in leadership to wear. Or for, you know, for females, it's the similar thing. So it's collared shirt, suit pants, or a skirt below the knee and leather shoes. So, so the question was, what's the understanding with regards to, you know, how clothes are worn by an individual? Does it really matter? Is there substance over style that we should be looking at? If I dress more casually, does that then have any particular impact on me? So all those sorts of things. So it's a really good question to ask, and one I've come across on quite a few occasions. And I think the biggest fear in this here is if people feel like they're not dressing to what the expectation is, then is that going to impact their career transition? Is it going to impact them moving up the chain to a promotion, or maybe a sideways move in preparation for a promotion? So all those sorts of things. Will they be overlooked if they're not as sharply dressed as, the leader next door? So I've got some studies and survey stats for you that we can have a look at, but I've also got, what I think, and also what I've gleaned from experience in all different industries, and we can have a look at that. So some recent studies. Now, this recent study was on a question around unkept attire. So I think that's a bit different to being casually dressed. So let's take that in mind when we're looking at these stats. So 83% of those surveyed said it detracts from a woman's executive presence. So their presence of being a leader, if you like. 76% said it detracts from a man's. So there's a bit of differentiate between them. There's obviously a higher expectation for a woman to be dressed, appropriately than a man. But anyway, and for women, too tight or provocative clothing, 73% say it detracts from a woman's executive presence. So, but that question, as I say, was around unkept attire. So I think, I think we have to keep that in perspective. And I think what this particular toolkit master was asking me is more about casual versus business formal and all those sorts of things. So those stats are for unkept attire. And that, to me, like, they didn't have an explanation what that meant, but I would say that meant, untidy, messy, unironed, all those sorts of things. So yeah, it's interesting. But, what's even more interesting when I went through and studied a bit of this, that it's become apparent that what you dress is far less important than your own self-confidence. So if you are self-confident and if you have effective communication, then appearance doesn't seem to make too much of a difference. So as long as you're appearing polished, it's not about what you wear per se, but how you wear it. How do you hold yourself? How confident are you when you're speaking, when you're walking through your workplace, all those sorts of things. So that seemed to be the biggest thing versus the actual clothes that you're wearing. So there's a bit of a fine line there, but anyway, so we'll keep going. So my experience, there's me in my military garb. So I'm the shortest one there on the left-hand side in the middle left. So, over time that I've discovered that strict dress code doesn't always optimize efficiency. And being in the military really, really taught me that, because, we had lots and lots of different uniforms for different things. I liked more casual wear. So when I was in the workplace, if I was in a place where I would wear the DPCU uniform, which is that destructive pattern combat uniform, if you've seen it. It's just pants and a top over the top. And I tell you what, they were like wearing pajamas. And they were something that I felt really comfy in, and I could go out and do my thing and it was fine. When I was in the blues, especially if I had to wear the long sleeve with the tie and all that sort of stuff, really uncomfortable. So I didn't feel efficient then. I was always worried that I was going to put a stain on my shirt or something was going to happen or whatever. So you waste time worried about whether your clothes or your uniform is going to pass the grade, or is it going to be enough, or all those sorts of things. So what you're wearing doesn't influence your productivity, but it does influence the state of mind that it puts you in. So I think it's important to wear what you're comfortable in, because you won't feel productive all day if you're rearranging your clothing, or if you're feeling restricted in, whatever you're wearing. It really does make a difference. So my 20-year military career, I've experienced that a strict dress code does not always optimize efficiency. So if that's what your experience in the workplace, that they think that it's going to create efficiency if they've got a strict dress code, maybe it's time to challenge that thinking. Maybe it's time to gather some stats, gather some information, and challenge that thinking. Because the one thing that you've got to have a look at is, what's your culture? So what's your culture of your organisation? What's their expectation? What have people been wearing in the past? Has anyone asked the question with regards to dress codes? You know, is there an official dress code? Have you got a dress code policy? And is there a requirement to wear, you know, personal protective equipment, so high-vis vests or all those sorts of stuff? Because if it's pretty much a safety need, then really we can't ignore that and we can't go against that. But so there have been organisations that I've been involved with that have a really relaxed dress code. And Felicity, you and I were in the same organisation that had a fairly relaxed dress code, if you remember. And you know, people would come to work neat but comfortable, you know. And these organisations were market leaders in their industry. So it's not as if they were just the Joe Blow sort of little small country company down the road. These were high global companies that were market leaders in their industry. So, and they decided that you know, they wanted their workers to come in neat and casual and feel comfortable in what they're wearing. So, you know, so does it really impact performance? In my opinion, no, it doesn't. Yes, Flick, I remember you saying something years ago to me about, I think this is the only organisation that I've come in here and been in casual clothes, whereas normally you're more business formal. So I can understand how it was confusing for you. So yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Yeah, you really struggled, especially if you've come from a culture of a number of organisations that do have a fairly strict dress code, and then you come into an organisation and people turn up in jeans and a T-shirt and look neat and casual, but, you know, that's what they dress in. It would be, yeah, I'm back to business. Okay, cool. You're back to what you know. Fantastic. Well, you always dress nice anyway, Flick, so... yeah. Okay, so does it really impact performance? In my opinion, it doesn't. But then I am an advocate of casual dress and feeling comfortable. So that's my opinion. It doesn't impact performance and it doesn't impact productivity. Being able to dress for work in what you feel comfortable allows you to be the most comfortable and most confident. And if you're really confident, then, you know, you portray that confidence. And I think that... I think you become more approachable to your team too, because you're not so, you know, worried about what's going on with your uniform and how your tie is cutting off your blood pressure and all sorts of stuff. Now, there are exceptions to the rule, of course. There are going to be exceptions. So do you face clients? Do you face customers? You know, if you are front-facing in your organisation, then you need to consider the professional face of the business, because that's pretty much what you're representing. So that's really up to the business to decide what sort of persona they want you to be able to carry off to represent their business. And so there's a bit of common sense here. So if you're selling clothing for your company, then you'd be dressed accordingly. You know, tracky pants and Ugg boots are just not going to cut it if you're in the retail trade selling clothes. If you're selling beer, it might be a more casual thing. You might be able to get away with a polo shirt and a nice pair of jeans or whatever. So really, if you are front-facing customers, then it has to be dictated by what you think the company would want you to be representing. And I think that's, you know, I think we would have common sense there. And I think what's been happening in the past is people are hesitant to not change their dress code because there's always the couple that take advantage of it, right? So if people become more relaxed in their dress code, then I think executives and people that are HR maybe might find that there might be a few workers that will take advantage of that relaxed dress code. And maybe that's the fear that holds them back from changing the more rigid requirements that they might have, because they don't want to see their workers turn up in board shorts and singlets. And I have seen that done before. So it's a fairly valid point. But they can look at changing their dress policy to account for that. So pretty much in short, aside from wearing the obligatory sort of high-vis PPE, which is personal protective equipment or whatever, then it's been proving that being comfortable in what you're wearing is advantageous in the long term, from what I've read, all the studies and stuff that I've read. However, I think having a dress code that specifically outlines what is acceptable and what isn't, I think will put everybody at ease with regards to people turning up maybe not looking appropriate or wearing socks with sandals. I don't think that's ever appropriate. But anyway, maybe that's just my opinion. Okay, so So what do you do? Okay, so the first thing you've got to do, you've got to find out if you've got a dress code in your company. Where is it? Have a look at it. Have you got one written? It might be actually different. What's written might be different to what the workplace norms are. So everybody's been wearing suit and tie, and actually your dress code says, oh, business casual, which means you can wear khaki pants and you can wear, you know, polo shirts and all that sort of stuff. So if that's the case, then you're quite within your rights to do that. So now listen, if you went and Googled dress code policies, there's hundreds of different examples out there that you can have a look at. So if you don't have one, maybe it's time to have a look at what a good one would look like. Yeah, because you might find that what's been happening is everybody's following the executive role model, who's walking around in, you know, suit and tie and what have you. But in fact, your dress code might say something totally different. So dig it out, have a look at it. If you can't find it, go to your HR person, because they might look for it for you, or they might say, do you know what, we don't have one. It's just an expectation. So then maybe it's time to have that conversation about, well, what can we do about one? So the next thing you might want to do is have a look at what you've got and tweak it, or create one if you don't have one. So if you think that your current one needs tweaking, have a chat to your HR manager. Go in with some recommendations of what one could look like. Google it, because there's some online that you can just, you know, should I say cut and paste, you know, leverage off it. Still with pride, I usually say, but let's say leverage off it because that sounds better. So leverage off it. So have a look at it. You'll notice that some of them have fairly different variety options of dress codes, you know, and they've got definitions of what that looks like. Maybe that's something that you need in your workplace to really, really specifically spell out what people can and can't wear. I think it's really, really important to get that right. So what do those codes mean? So there's 4 main definitions that I've seen. Yes, you've got your business formal, but we're not talking about that because that's not many people in the workplace would have to wear that. But business dress code, business casual dress code, smart casual dress code, and casual dress code are the 4 that I've seen written a lot, right? So what is business dress code? Well, this usually for a man. So this is that second one along there. So this one here, business dress code. So we won't worry about business formal because that's pretty, you know, pretty in your face what that is. It's suit and tie pretty much. Okay, so business code though, this typically means a shirt, a tie, dress shoes, but you know, you can drop the jacket. So that's still fairly formal, isn't it? It's still fairly formal, and depending on your workplace may not be appropriate. So I don't see many people that are working in an FMCG environment that are working in the operations floor wearing stuff like this. It just won't cut it. Also, you might have business casual, which is a little bit more that I see more often. So this is usually khaki or cotton pants. You could even have shorts, long sleeve button down shirts or polo shirts or knit shirts, cardigans, those sorts of things, all looking nice, but it's business casual. Shoes, but you know, would be fairly relaxed, but you just wouldn't have sandals or sort of sneakers. It's just sort of relaxed shoes. So those sorts of things would be your business casual. Your smart casual would be a pair of slacks or a nice pair of jeans with a button-up shirt, and you can have leather shoes if you want. This smart casual mode usually excludes shorts, worn jeans, sandals and t-shirts. So that's the difference between smart casual and casual. So if you've got smart casual, that'll be no shorts. Any jeans that are really worn or got holes or whatever in, you know, the new ones with all the bloody rips and stuff in it. I don't think that's appropriate for anywhere really, but sandals and t-shirts. So that's kind of your smart casual. And then you've got your casual dress mode, which is relaxed but tasteful. You know, jeans and t-shirts are accepted, but they just need to be clean and neat condition without any holes and stains or without any sort of derogatory remarks on them or whatever. So there's the difference that you can see. So that's for men. So let's have a look for the women. Again, we've got our 5 dress codes there. The business formal will be suits normally. But if you go business dress code, so for a woman, it usually means a skirt or a pantsuit and closed-toe shoes usually, and just looking neat and tidy. And business casual dress code for ladies is skirts with usually the hem past the knee or pants, and no sort of sandals. For smart casual, yeah, you can wear a nice pair of jeans here. You can wear a nice shirt or a blouse. And usually, again, smart casual excludes any shorts, any worn jeans or any sort of T-shirts per se. And then relaxed casual dress mode, you can have your jeans, you can have your skirts, you can have your T-shirts, and everything's neat and tidy, but you're just sort of, you know, relaxed. So there's the 4 that I've come across a lot, not including the business formal. So that's quite a different level altogether. So, you know, as long as we are really quite mindful about making sure we're making it obvious for our people so they know exactly what they need to wear and what's not appropriate, I think that that's going to be your ideal sort of situation there if you don't already have some sort of dress code policy. Okay, but it may be a cultural change, right? It may be a cultural change. So you might say, yes, I'm going to have a neat, casual sort of dress code policy, and HR have signed it off, and the execs think it's a great idea. But it's that cultural change of how do you get that shift? How do you make that change? And I think that's got to start from the top down. So if you are getting support for this, then you need to talk to some of your people that are in a more senior position and say, well, we need to role model this. We need to role model this. So I want you to, you know, let us know, you know, come in on not just Casual Friday. Casual Friday was another question mark for this particular toolkit master. Said, well, you know, what's the use of Casual Friday? And I think it's probably a good point. I think it's a valid point. I know a lot of the Casual Fridays that I've come across used to in all different industries, because you know, that's so common. It's everywhere, isn't it? And they used to have gold coin donations because it was part of, you know, giving to some sort of charity or something like that, which was fantastic. So if it's meaningful and with purpose, I think it's fantastic. Yeah, but I don't understand really Casual Friday myself because I'm usually in casual but neat attire, so I don't need to change. So we need to change the culture, and that does start from the top down. So if you are changing the dress policy or reiterating what the dress policy already has, or thinking that there needs to be some changes, then get some buy-in from your managers, get some buy-in from staff so that they can be really role modelling what these changes are and allowing people to be, you know, not conscious that, you know, there might be some consequence if they come in something that some people may think is not appropriate. All right, fantastic. So it was a great question, and I'd be really interested in what you guys have got to say with regards to your workplace. Do you have neat, casual, sort of relaxed environment, or is it something that is a little bit more formal? What do you have in your workplace? I know we've got some people on the line, and while you're thinking about that, I'm going to get you back. So stay with me. Okay, there we are. Yay, I made it. So stay with me. And tell me, what's your workplace like? I came from the military, as you know, over 20 years in the military, where it was extremely important to wear the uniform, and it was specific as what colour nail polish I was allowed to wear, if at all, how big my earrings were going to be, where my hair sat on my collar. You know, all sorts of really, really fine detail. And, you know, I found that it was probably a little bit constricting. And especially as I went up the ranks and I was, you know, it was my responsibility to make sure everybody's uniform was right. It was a real struggle for me because it went against my own values. Fleet, casual Fridays are great in workplaces which are a bit more formal. It changes the vibe, ready for a fun Friday. Absolutely. And you know what? It's one of my favourite days of the week. So I do love Fridays. Okay, so that's another outlook on it, another insight that it makes it a fun Friday. Derek, uniform. Nearly all staff are customer facing. Doesn't seem fair to let a few non-customer facing management people to skip uniform. Okay, well, that's an interesting point. I guess it comes down to what if it is going to have a negative effect on the rest of the team. So if the people that are non-customer facing say, hey, you know what, we're not going to speak to the customers, we never face them, so we're actually going to be dressing more casually. And if some of the other people have a concern or some issues with that, maybe it's something that needs to be discussed with the whole team to make sure that it's not, you know, not getting any negative effects, because the whole point of it is for people to be more comfortable, be more relaxed in the workplace, and be, you know, even higher productivity and performance rates. So that's what the whole thing's about. So it's probably worth having those conversations if anybody is interested in doing that, Derek. And Flick, I think the question is, as a leader, should you be setting an example in any way? And I think that's fair. And I think there is an expectation as a leader to be able to role model. But I also don't think it should have a heavy weight against it. I think things are much more important than what you're wearing with regards to confidence, effective communication, empowerment, encouragement, delegating, you know, crucial conversations, courage, all those sorts of things are probably going to be more weighted upon than, you know, perceptions of what somebody's wearing, I would suggest. Yeah, so that's kind of where we're sitting with it. And I think it's a great debate, and it's a great conversation between people in your workplace. Great teams that might have one way instead of another way. But I think it's worth having that conversation. I think you'll find that, you know, some people will have differing opinions, but it's worth digging out your dress policy and having a look what it says. It'd be interesting to see if all those people wearing formal attire actually need to, and then what reactions it would create if people realise that they didn't have to. So yeah, it'd be interesting. I must say one thing about wearing a uniform, and that's when I used to go to work in the DPCUs, which is that disruptive pattern combat uniform. If you've seen them, a lot of the Army wear it, but Air Force and Navy have got one too. The Air Force ones are now a blue colour and the Navy ones are a more grey colour, but they're like wearing pyjamas. And it was so nice to just go, yeah, I've got 4 sets of DPCUs in my cupboard. Get up in the morning, have a shower, just shove it on. Didn't have to think, didn't have to worry about, you know, what shirt goes with what pair of pants and all that sort of stuff. So that was really good. But it was when it was in the more formal attire, when we had parades and we had presentations and we had, you know, Air Vice Marshals coming to visit our unit or whatever, and we had to get all up in the spick and span stuff. That was when everyone's going, you know. So I must say, having a uniform did suit me when it was the everyday stuff, because you just didn't have to think, and it was like wearing pajamas. We used to call it our pajamas. But yeah, so interesting debate, I think, and it'll be interesting to see if I get any emails from you guys with regards to what you're doing in your workplace and what's working and what's not working. But yes, so is there any other questions, insights or stories that you'd like to share with me? Because it's really been fantastic to talk to you guys. I'm just leaving it a couple of seconds so I don't cut you off. All right, fantastic. Okie dokie. So I reckon that's it for today. Now remember, remember, next week's going to be our last one. So let's make it a good one, okay? Come armed with questions for me. If you've got any questions about your team, if you've got any questions about something that's happening that shouldn't be happening in your workplace, if you've got any questions about how do you do a certain something, you can leave it until Q&A Thursday to ask me, or you can ask on the ask@teamleadertoolkit.com email, and I will be able to answer you within 2 working days and give you some hints and tips and any downloadables or attachments that I can find. And then with your permission, I get to share it on the webinar as well, so for other people to see. So it might be worth, you know, having a think about if there's any questions that you've got to throw on my way, and let's get onto them and let's answer them for you. Also, we'll be back on the 15th of January in 2018, so I'm really excited. Not on the 5th, we start back on the 15th in the office, so that means the first Thursday after the 15th, we are on. There will be a skeleton crew there, so if you do send any emails, there will be some people to respond to you, so don't feel like we've left you all together. There certainly will be some people here to help. And you will still have full access to the unlocking portal, to the downloadable tools, to all the replays and everything that you've got access to now, you will still have access to. And if there is a module that's due to be unlocked in that time, it will still unlock. Okay, so those things are already automated and they will unlock as you need them. Okay, so without further ado, I will speak to you all next week. Really, really excited to speak to you next week, our last one for 2017. I'd love to hear what you guys are doing over the holidays. Keep in touch and I will speak to you soon. All right. Bye for now. Cheers. See ya.